Hey there, it's Dorleen. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my creative life. I am a brand new design team member for Jenleeschoolcraft.com, and I'll put all that information in the information box. But basically, the website has new and gently used items. The new items are sometimes current, sometimes they are products that are discontinued from different well-known crafting companies, but you can find them all there. There's new products every week. It changes, so it's smart to go back often because you're going to find new things every time you go to the website. And also with being a design team member, I am able to offer you a 10% discount by just using my first name and as a coupon code. So I will have all that information again in the information box, as well as a link to my blog and also my Instagram account. So what I decided to do is I do have these dies that were sent to me, and I cut them out in white because I'm going to make an inky background on an A2 card. So an A2 card is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. I cut this white piece of cardstock at 4 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to do like an ombre effect with 3 different colors of ink. Now I'm just pulling out some old Stampin' Up colors that I've had. Look, I've had these stamps or these inks for years. And when I say years, I mean, I'm talking more than 10 years. And yeah, some of them are kind of getting a little dry, but they are still working really well. And so I use those as much as possible. So again, I'm using like colors that are orange-ish, yellow-ish. So if you want to know what exact colors I'm using, you can go to my blog for that. But basically, again, I'm using some paddle brushes and I'm using a Post-it note to hold my hand or my fingers, or to not hold it, to make sure I don't get fingerprints all over the ink. So if you notice, I have it far away because I don't want a straight edge. I'm just using it more to protect my fingers, or the ink from my fingers, I should say. And when I blend the ink, I like to go like kind of from the scratch paper up into the card, because that way you don't get like a blob of color. You're kind of starting off on that protective sheet and then pulling up the colors. It also gives some color around the edges, which is a nice little touch too. So right now I'm just grabbing the 4 different designs because I only cut one of each, and I'm just placing them on the card what I think in my mind works. I grabbed a sentiment that I wanted to use. I've gotten some information from a cousin who is experiencing some personal issues that is not good, but I wanted to remind her that she is loved. So I thought this sentiment worked well, and I really like the color choices because even though it is bright, I'm kind of using the term bright, it's not overly happy, and it's also not sad, if that makes any sense. So I love this design in white because it pops against or away from that colorful background, but also blends well. I hope that makes sense, but I hope you also agree. So I was still kind of messing around because I thought, well, maybe I can use that other die cut that I had just cut out, but I do end up liking this a lot more. So I'm using some liquid adhesive and a fine tip bottle to make sure I have enough adhesive, especially on those little curly cues and all those little skinny stems. This is really good for that type of, or this type of product, because I could use, double-sided tape using my ATG, but it would be a huge mess. So once I put all that glue in, I always like to anchor it a little bit with a clear acrylic block just to make sure that there's good adhesion from both products to both products. So I grabbed some of my embellishments. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. I kind of saw these flowers and I thought, maybe. In my mind, I was like, but then when I put it down, I said, absolutely, love it with the flowers. So I went ahead and added those paper flowers, and they're just small ones that I had in my stash, and I'm going to go ahead and just use the same glue to glue them on. Now, these had some really thick, like seed beads in the middle. I'm calling them seed beads because I don't know what else to call them, but they're really big. And I thought, usually when you mail cards, any kind of lump just jacks it up, the price. I mean, it's already like, 69 cents to mail a letter. So you're already talking big money. So I cut it off, and then I put the sequin on top of it. I was so happy with that because originally I thought I was going to use the flowers and the sequins, but then I realized it was way too much unless I put it on the flower. So the way it looks right now, I'm getting a little bit of bling, but not too much. And it all coordinates well with that kind of gold, which is also that kind of gold colors of this orange and the peach and the yellow that are on this card. So I really like how everything's coming together. I decided to use a orange card base. So what I do, this is an 8.5 by 10, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. At 4.25, I use the score blade to score it, and then I cut it at 5, turn it, then cut it at 5.5. So basically I made 2 card bases with just, 2 motions instead of cutting first and then scoring 2 different times. So you save a step. So I'm just using my bone folder, make sure that the fold or the score is nice and crisp. And then I'm going to adhere the card front to the card base, just using my ATG. Now this is a little tip. So there's adhesive all over the back of this. I know I cut that off because you don't need to see me putting adhesive in the back of a rectangle. But I use a finger on, and I have it between the card front and the card base. And until I start eyeballing, I know this is where I'm going to put it. And then I move my fingers and then press that piece down. So that way, usually if you have adhesive on something and you drop it down, it's stuck there, baby. So it gives you wiggle room without actually giving you wiggle room, if that makes any sense. But that's just a little tip, and I really like to do that when I'm using double-sided tape. Now, if I'm using liquid adhesive, I just put it down and then wiggle it around. So this is some color splash that I'm adding. I'm just putting it in the diagonal from the left top to the bottom right, and I think that looks so pretty. Again, it's got that orange, so it's all color coordinated, very subtle, but also very pretty. But I hope you agree. And if you do, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And thank you so much for watching. I do post 2 videos a week. One is always scrapbooking. The other is whatever I'm creating in the command center, which happens to be the name of my blog and also my craft room. Bye.